It's time for Damn Good Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Shelby Claymore. From corporate executive to CEO to entrepreneur and the founder of Damn Good Marketing Live. This podcast is all about digital marketing, building a business you love, and creating a brand that's authentic to who you are. So if you're ready for honest, raw marketing conversations that you will not find anywhere else, let's freaking get it.
Let's go.
Today we have a badass entrepreneur, mama, and just like a legend. Brittany freaking Franklin is here, y'all. She started Skyhi. I'm just so freaking pumped to talk about everything today with you and like pull back the curtain, get raw, get real, get honest. I'm freaking so excited. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shelby. It's been so amazing to watch you grow and morph into this huge entrepreneur yourself and content creator. And that's just a whole world that a lot of people don't understand the amount of time and talent it takes to create all of this and push it out. So it's been awesome to watch you, girl.
Y'all, this is going to be such a jam-packed conversation. We actually are going in it with just having a conversation. I'm going to ask her some real questions. But I want to bring y'all back. If you're listening to this, I met Brittany via the internet when I was in corporate, actually. And I met some of the girls that work with her. Literally, I think it was like a week or two before I left corporate in Lafayette. I went and met them to see what everything is about. So I've been following along on her journey for a really long time, and I've watched you grow. So can you give everybody a little lowdown of who you are? What do you do? Like, give us the goods.
It's so awesome when you say that, right? Like in Lafayette, when you were in corporate, right before you launched your big creation. So, look, who am I? I am at heart a little country girl that grew up in South Louisiana, duck hunting and showing lambs in 4 H. I was very lucky to have my health. My family had their health. And along the way of being an extreme outdoorsman and really living in a situation where we had to provide, literally for our family each and every day and live off the land. I was introduced to the Cattle Festival pageant right before I went to high school. And that was a big deal. And it still is a big deal in a small community. In Louisiana, you have festivals for every parish. And so in Vermilion Parish, you had the Cattle Festival pageant, Cattle Festival. And my mom was like, hey, guess what? You're going to be in the Cattle Festival pageant. So get ready to put on a ball gown and answer some interview questions. And I said, Mom, you have lost your mind. I am not going to be in the pageant, and I'm going to show my lamb that morning like normal. And thank you very much, but no thank you. Long and short, she was very determined, and I hit the stage literally the same day or same week I was showing my lambs for a big show. And I love showing lambs. It was a huge part of my upbringing, teaching us work ethic and responsibility and so many amazing life lessons as a kid that you take on as an adult. But in short, I whooped everybody's butt, and I wasn't supposed to because these girls had been in pageants since they were like 2, and so we had a lot of mad mamas out there in the Abbeville, Louisiana audience. And when they called number 13, I was like, what just happened? Well, Shelby, it changed my entire life because that's what introduced me to volunteering in the community.
Yeah.
Because we grew up, I mean, when I tell you like poverty level poor, which I didn't know that, and I didn't know what that meant until, much later in life. Because truly, we had what we needed, and like you have blinders on and you have what you need. But we didn't hobnob at the country club, as our foursome family. And so we didn't have the opportunity to go to galas or fundraising events and do things for the community in that regard.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now I'm, helping children and, going to the nursing homes and wearing my little sash and crown and so proud and so enamored by the other girls that were other queens and had done their whole lives. And they all seem to also have the same passion for really getting involved in the community. Fast forward, I go to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital when I turned 16 and was crowned Miss Acadiana. And fun fact, I did not win that pageant. I was first runner-up and ended up getting the crown a couple months later when the queen forfeited hers because she double reigned and competed in another pageant and won. And like, that's against the rules, girl. You can't do that.
I'm trying to be greedy.
Girl, you can't be two queens at one time. So I was crowned in the living room of Billy Menard's house in Kaplan, Louisiana. And that's what then turned into volunteering with beanies for St. Jude, like the Thai beanie babies.
Yeah.
Well, when you step foot in a hospital, or for me, it was the Ronald McDonald House of Memphis, and you're surrounded by many children that are, I'm going to be very, very, very like visual. Walking sticks, feeding tubes, no hair, wheelchairs, visibly, these children look sick.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you don't have some sort of like epiphany on what you should really be doing in the world, or what you should at least add to your plate to give back to the world, there's something wrong with you, right? Like, it's humanly impossible to be surrounded by, at that time, 53 children and their families from all over the country, and a lot from Louisiana, that were fighting for their lives and not want to do something about it.
Yeah.
Well, we cooked a gumbo, hosted a Mardi Gras parade, and I ended up getting close to a little boy named Dalton. And that sealed the deal for me in terms of, I knew God planted a seed and I would do something in the pediatric cancer world at some point in my life.
Right.
At that time, my parents went through a horrific divorce. I mean, I'm talking restraining orders, drug rehabs, depression, anxiety, like everything you could possibly imagine. And somehow I kept my head down, went to school, literally started working in Lafayette at a restaurant called Edie's, like all at the same time, so I could make money to then buy groceries.
Yeah.
It was really 3 years of hell with my parents' divorce. And so I had to make a decision to either stay back in the community I grew up in and like continue to be like the foundation, the rock, the whatever, the person that everybody's going to call with all their problems, and I'm the fixer, or spread my wings. And I knew that there was something else out there for me and for my life. There was a bigger purpose. And my senior year of college, okay, I graduate from high school, I move out. I mean, I am out of Abbeville. I'm in Lafayette. I live with my same two roommates, Megan and Laura, for 4 years in our little apartment. We all worked full time and we went to school full time. I thought I was going to go to law school, be a big time lawyer, and move to New York. Meanwhile, God had other plans. And so, senior year, I'm approached by Billy Menard, and she ran Beanies for St. Jude. She ran several pageants. She said, Britt, we're trying to put the old gang back together, and our goal is to raise $10,000 this year to donate to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and to do different things for the Ronald McDonald House. I was like, Billy, are you crazy? I am taking Princeton review courses because I'm going to fail the LSAT. I am not book smart whatsoever. And I'm working 2 jobs to survive. I mean, my parents paid for absolutely nothing, and I funded every semester at UL on my own, cash money, honey, not one single student loan. Super proud of that.
Yeah.
And so it was like, how in the world am I going to add this to my plate? Well, God said, you're going to do it. And so I decided to host a sporting clay tournament. I was shooting clays on Fridays with a lot of the customers from Edie's. Girl, I didn't know I was serving like the president and CEO of Frank's and president and CEO of, Finstamaker and all these awesome companies that have been birthed out of Louisiana, right? Out of Lafayette, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So many amazing entrepreneurs. Well, I put the plan together very quickly and create a budget. Long and short, I had no idea what I was really doing, but the people that I served for so long at Edie's trusted my work ethic and trusted my ability to gather people and then support the childhood cancer community, by donating money to St. Jude. Okay, so we host the first sporting clay tournament with all my best friends that work together at Edie's, and we raise a whopping $50,000.
Holy moly.
Yeah, huge.
All you needed was 10.
What? Girl, we had 10 in like 2 weeks. People were writing $2,500 checks. I was like, wait. I didn't ask you for that much. Hold on, time out. Wait, you sure you want to give me that much? And, yeah. And I'd opened a Chase bank account under Skyhi, and mainly because, well, one, it rhymed, so I thought that was creative.
Yeah.
Two, I always looked to the sky for faith, love, support.
Yeah.
Like when it got real hard, I'd be like, Jesus, what else are you going to give me? Right? Like this is enough. And so I thought, wow, okay, we're gonna look to the sky. Also, you shoot sporting clays and it's like in the sky. So all the things that went through my little brain. Opened that bank account with $100 bill and got an EIN number. Did not have a 501c3. Didn't know what that was. Had no idea what a nonprofit was. But here we go. Well, we donate the money to St. Jude November. In fact, that's the first check behind me. November 19th, 2007. And we meet Bryce Norwood. I wear him every day on my arm. But Bryce had Wilms tumor, which is a really tough form of childhood cancer to beat. It's much better now. The survival rates are much better now. But Wilms tumor is kidney cancer. His dad told us that they didn't have a lot of time left. St. Jude was sending them home. They had done everything they possibly could. And in the same breath, he told us that if he could do anything with his son before he met Jesus, it would be to go on a white-tailed deer hunt in Texas.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to go backwards, but at the same time all this is happening, I moved to Houston and start my career in oil and gas, which is a wild turn of events in a very short period of time. And so I felt like, I know Texas. I've been here 2 months. Yeah. And I know powerful people in oil and gas. I've met them, one time.
Yeah.
Well, we called our loyal visitors at Edie's and our first donor, which was Donald Mosing of Frank's. And he flew the family to Uvalde, Texas. And we spent 5 days at the ranch hunting and dyeing Easter eggs and dove hunting and doing all these wonderful things. And I got really, really, really close to Bryce. And he was 5 and I was 21. I just turned 22. In short, after that trip, Shelby, on Valentine's Day, which was his 6th birthday, Bryce earned his angel wings. And that's when God said, this is the last time I'm going to tell you what I've put you on earth to do. It's the last time I'm going to tell you what your bigger purpose is. I know you think you need to move to New York and drive a black Mercedes and make money as a lawyer, but I really do have bigger plans for you. And so I listened, and all the girls that helped me start and form Skyhi for Kids and host the first clay shoot looked at me and said, let's do this. Yes. Let's go big or go home. Let's launch a 501c3. And so I'm giving you a long answer to who I am, but at the end of the day, like I did not come from an Ivy League school. I did not come from a wealthy family. I shot a crack barrel 410 the first time I ever shot sporting clays, which is like the worst possible weapon you can use in a sporting clay situation. Like, it's one of those stories where you reflect now that I'm 40 years old and you're like, wait, I should not be here and I should not be doing this. And I should have never even like really got out of my small town. Because, look, take it for what it's worth, but unless you have a bunch of cheerleaders, which thank God I did through Edie's and just the amazing mentors I had when I was in college, all the years prior, it was small town mentality.
Yes.
Like you go to school, you be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, that's because you probably came from a family that had a little bit of wealth, and you stay home, you build a house next to your parents, you pop out 3 kids, and you live a great life. I'm not saying that's not an amazing life to live, but no one ever told me about anything else or any other options.
Yeah.
In fact, when I moved to Houston, my grandparents were like, oh my God, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm moving to Houston. Oh my, you're going to get murdered. You're going to get raped and murdered over there in that big city. I am telling you right now, that was their initial response. You don't leave. What are you thinking? So I'm a small town girl with big dreams, and I'm extremely determined. I don't take no for an answer very often. If I do, it's like, man, you have beat me down so much. I have not found that loophole. Yeah. But but yeah, that's who I am. And I'm a, if I may, we're going to get shit done.
Yeah.
And we're not going to give up.
Yeah.
We're going to find solutions and we're going to problem solve. I have a big personality. I love people. Gosh, I love people. I love building relationships. And so that's who I am. And now a mom, which is the best thing that's ever happened to me in my
Yeah.
entire life.
The cutest little nugget ever.
So yeah, all that. And,
All
14 years working in oil and gas, and now I'm the founder and CEO of Skyhi for Kids. So long journey, but here we are.
Dude, the thing I got the most. Well, there's multiple things I got the most. Number one, that was some storytelling. You brought me along on that full journey, and I loved it. And I feel like the community is definitely gonna love that. One, because like you were like, "Nah, mom, I'm not gonna be in the pageant," and she was like, "Well, I'm really sorry, but you are." But it just goes to show you like how God works, and it's so different from what you expect, and so different from what you plan, because ultimately you don't get the plan. Like He has the plan. And so
Right.
for you to even know, but what amazed me about this story is you knew you were bigger than small town mentality. Not that you were better, but you were bigger than, and that there was a bigger purpose and dream for you. So in your mind, you were already leaving. You were going to New York City, you were being an attorney. But you were like, okay, God was like, wait, hold on, I have a different story for you. I still want you to be bigger than what you think or that anyone around you think that you can be, but it's going to be in this avenue and it's going to be for the greater good. And I think that with people that don't know, which everybody should know, but what people don't know is St. Jude is fully funded by everyone on the outskirts. So like no parents pay for anything when you go into St. Jude. Can you give us a little bit on that aspect, just so people can educate themselves just a little bit?
Yeah, and it's pretty remarkable what they've built. Danny Thomas had a dream so many years ago, and in 1962, they opened the doors to St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee. And, it was to eradicate childhood leukemia, which is the most common form of childhood cancer that exists today. And at the time, the survival rate was 4%. I mean, Shelby, if your child was diagnosed, you were planning the funeral. I
Yeah.
mean, the worst possible
Yeah.
news ever. It still is the worst possible news ever. But because of institutions like St. Jude and Danny Thomas's dream and what they have been able to do over the past, 60 plus years,
Yeah.
it's over 90% survival rate for the most common form of childhood cancer. I'm not saying that the treatment protocol is where it needs to be. I'm not saying that we still do have children who do not survive this type of cancer. But what I am saying is because of the research and because of the funding
Yes.
from
Yeah.
the public, okay, majority of children, over 90%, that are diagnosed with ALL leukemia will survive and will thrive. Okay.
Yeah.
There will be some lifelong effects. Okay. But majority will thrive. And that is, I mean, think about it, right? Think about how powerful that is. And in addition, you pointed out one of the most important aspects because it's not like that anywhere
Where
else in the
else?
world. It is
No.
free of charge. You
Yes.
are not going to pay for a bag of chips. You're not going to pay for room and board. You're not going to pay for any treatment, medication, nothing. Okay. Now, with that said, I'll get into our programs and what we do to directly impact families through our services. Families still have a mountain of financial burden that does come along with this diagnosis that people are very unaware of. But if you can imagine having to, mortgage your house or sell your car or the things that families have to do to try to save their child's life, it's mind blowing. St. Jude makes it so much easier on the family by providing these things free of charge. And it's not because of St. Jude, it's because of private funders like you, like me, like the Skyhis that are third party non corporate, like the Chili's, right? Williams Sonoma that jump on board as a corporate donor. I mean, my gosh, it is the people across the country, now world, that send their $20 a month.
Yeah.
Millions of people send $20 a month. I mean, gosh, you spend that in 2 days at Starbucks on 2 coffees. $20 a month is what's keeping St. Jude's doors open, and it's north of 2.5 million a day to run the hospital. It's like, it's wild. And now it's morphed from not only eradicating childhood leukemia, I mean, let's pull up the line. I mean, it is from research from AIDS all the way to sickle cell, right? They cured bubble boy disease, for crying out loud. And now they have one of the best brain programs. And with Skyhi, we've funded the research floor, the Neurobiology Development Center, that is fighting bone, brain, and solid tumors, which are the most deadly forms of childhood cancer today. And we are seeing survival rates increase and better treatment protocols being, produced. And so, yeah, wow, the public makes that happen.
Yeah. I think it's so fascinating to me that that is somewhere like a family. Now I have children. I mean, I was in Tridelt, so like our philanthropy
Oh,
was
yes, you get it.
I get it. And so like it's always been on my heart, but now that I have children and to know that like we've had hospital visits, like obviously thank God not to that extreme, but where we've had to go to the hospital and then we get like hit with a freaking bill so big that whatever. But to go to St. Jude and like be able to really like focus on your child, love on your child, be there for your child and not have to worry about the financial burden is like truly like a godsend, because it's like you're already getting the worst news that you can about your child. And now they have an opportunity for you to go and really focus on how to let your child survive or have the chances to survive. And I think that that's so cool. And it's so cool to have known you build this empire that you've built to fund St. Jude as much as you can. And the thing that just like makes me sit back and think, like, you had such a different road plan for yourself, and now God's like, this is what was bigger for you. And now y'all do, okay, I want you to go into a little bit more of like Skyhi in general. How many events do you do? Give us the goods of like everything and how it's evolved over the years. Like you said, you launched this in what, 20, when you were 21, 22?
Yeah, 2007 is when, we hosted the first official fundraiser, and then 2008 is when we became a federal 501c3. So, wow, the journey of the last 17 years. I'm going to start with the beneficiary side. So, St. Jude is and will always be our anchor. We will always be very involved with what the need is there. They depend on Skyhis of the world to be able to do these, huge and groundbreaking research projects, as well as advanced treatment, and be able to provide the housing and the things that are needed for the families while they're there. And we cover all those buckets, from funding the major research to advancing treatment protocols. And then also, we are the largest funder of the Ronald McDonald House of Memphis, providing not only 3 meals a day for every family, but the electricity bill is fully paid because of Skyhi for Kids donors. Let me just make sure that's very clear, because of our supporters. And that housing facility only houses families from St. Jude. So it's a direct pediatric cancer focus, which is our sole focus. And so St. Jude will always be our anchor. We are ticking away at the pay down of our $20 million commitment to open that research center, or the second floor of the research center. And, we've got about 10 million to go. Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
In addition, along the way, living in Houston, I was a little oblivious to what else existed in the childhood cancer community. Because when you go to St. Jude, you just get gobbled up. It's the best.
Yeah.
Well, Texas Children's Cancer Center is right here in my backyard. And the things that I've learned throughout the journey with them is pretty mind-blowing, because nobody knows this, but they're the largest cancer center in the world. Okay. Meaning they take the most patients each year.
Okay.
They have an outpatient floor that sees roughly 150 kids per day.
Oh, wow.
And then they have 7, 8, and 9, which are inpatient, which is roughly 70 kids that are inpatient. So they're not leaving the hospital for their treatment. And we discovered Texas Children's Cancer Center in 2017 when I saw a billboard on the side of I-10, and I picked up the phone and was like, can you connect me to donor relations? And I've literally now made some of the best friends in my entire life, from Lisa McCoy to Dr. Susan Blaney to Dr. Poplack to some amazing humans. And we created a very close bond and a fast friendship, and quickly decided to fund them in a very large way and match what we were donating to St. Jude at the $20 million level. And so we built out the 7th floor in 2020, which has 22 new oncology rooms and 10 bone marrow transplant units.
Wow.
All of that infrastructure was greatly needed for families. And in addition, we funded the immunotherapy center, which is the only one in the country for pediatrics. And to know some of the children that we work with directly that are in the immunotherapy program is just, it's so surreal.
Yeah.
And then to top that off, we decided to go global with Texas Children's and be a part of their Global Hope program, which, if you saw this summer, we spent a lot of time in Malawi, Uganda, and Botswana.
Yeah.
Those were the original countries where children were, one, not being diagnosed for cancer because they didn't know what they had. Two, they didn't have one pediatric oncologist that existed on the entire continent of Africa. Think about that.
Yeah.
Much less the resources and the infrastructure and the drugs to treat kids. 100,000 children roughly before we started this project, were dying of some form of childhood cancer. Now we're seeing survival rates increase, past 10% over the last few years. And so what we did was we funded the training facilities. So doctors who graduate in a normal med school program can be in a fast track Global Hope 2-year school to become an oncologist and focus only on pediatrics. So our funders, our donors, graduated the first pediatric cancer oncologist on the continent of Africa. The first brain tumor specialist, the first nurse, the first pharmacist, so many first.
Yeah.
And now children have hope, families have hope. And I don't care. And Cullen Spitzer, who I will quote for the rest of my life, who is the CEO and founder of Spitzer Industries, said, "Where you are born in the world should not determine whether you live or die."
Yes.
Okay. Think about how powerful that statement is. When you're a mother or you're a father, it doesn't matter. That's your child. And they have every opportunity to do like me, get out of their village, be something bigger, right? And if cancer stops them and does not give them the opportunity for a future, well, I just don't think that's fair. And so we've been able to do a ton of amazing life-saving work in sub-Saharan Africa through Texas Children. So our beneficiary portfolio has grown immensely.
Yeah.
In addition, we are funding $1 million to Covenant Children's in Lubbock, Texas. A lot of people also don't know, in the oil and gas world, which, by the way, is still and will always be our backbone in terms of funders, West Texas is the hot spot, as we all know. Permian Basin, and if your child is diagnosed, anywhere in West Texas, throughout Southeast New Mexico, you have nowhere to go for treatment. You are literally going to hook it 8+ hours to Houston, Texas to come to Texas Children's, or you're going to go north to Cooks in Fort Worth. Or now with the help of Skyhi and other funders, we may be able to stop you right there in Lubbock, Texas, and you be treated at Covenant, depending on what type of childhood cancer you're diagnosed with, because they do have, they don't do bone marrow transplants, right? Yeah. So why would we not want to work harder to keep families together, right? So I was just last week sitting down for breakfast with Luis and his mom. She has 3 boys, and she has had to leave her other 2 sons for a extended period of time for her son Luis to receive treatment here in Houston at MD Anderson. Okay, why would we not have that available in Midland, Texas at this time? Are you kidding me? Or what can we do to really expand the hematology and oncology unit at Covenant Children's and give more access to more children? Right now, they're seeing about 160 kids a year. And then the rest do go to Cooks, and then 180 families plus are coming to Houston, Texas. Do the math. Yeah. It's wild. Yeah. So we're excited about that. And then we support the Ronald McDonald houses that are in our fundraising territories. So right now, San Antonio, Texas, we built specific pediatric cancer rooms for families. Rami Down House in Memphis, as I mentioned, we are providing summer camp for all pediatric cancer patients and their siblings in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who are at St. Francis Children's, which is also working with the St. Jude Affiliate Clinic. And then in Lafayette, Louisiana, obviously, you know, Louisiana, it's if your child's diagnosed with cancer, you're going to St. Jude. It's the second, I think, highest populated state in terms of the amount of admissions a year. Over 850 kids a year are from Louisiana that are being treated at St. Jude. So we focus our Lafayette regional efforts on St. Jude. So it's really amazing. Basically, we said we want to support local families, and then we also have to support the bigger picture, which is Texas Children's, St. Jude, and those big institutions that have the ability to do the groundbreaking research that's needed, right? And have the innovation and the mindset of like, no, we're gonna save this child. Like this isn't just, oh, they're not responding to protocol. No, they're gonna do everything they possibly can. So our beneficiaries have completely just, exploded, which we love. Now, wow, Skyhi for kids. From a backyard clay shoot where we used to sit on tailgates with no shoes on and drink a cold Miller Lite after the tournament, we are now hosting like multi-million-dollar events with all the bells and whistles in 5 different regions.
Yep.
And we're doing it, Shelby, with the lowest expense cost ratio. I'll tell you right now, this is not, I don't know, I'm not fact checking, but I bet you if you put us against majority of the nonprofits in the country, we are one of the best in terms of budgeting and maximizing the donor dollar.
Yeah.
You're going to come to Ladies Who Brunch, Shelby. We're going to raise over $1 million on a Sunday with 650 phenomenal women who have big hearts and really dig deep into their pockets. And you're going to think you went to something in Hollywood, and then we're going to turn around and be able to tell you that we spent 10 cents of your dollar. Yeah. That is unheard of, okay? Yeah. So many nonprofits host amazing events, but they spend so much of the money.
Yes.
Okay? Like, well, time out. We work our butts off to get underwriters, to provide the floral, to provide the entertainment, to, the linens. All of it.
Yeah.
The balloons, whatever, right? If we want the bells and whistles,
yes.
Yeah, sorry. If we want the bells and whistles, our committee, our volunteers, our staff, we got to go get it.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think when people look, there's some of the nonprofit have just a bad taste in their mouth because they do like these extravagant events, but then there's no actual money that goes to that said actual organization that they support. And so I think that this is like a beautiful thing that y'all do. And I've been watching, obviously, y'all over the years and like seeing your events from clay shoots to the Ladies at Brunch. That's like a red carpet. It's a fashion show. It's like amazingness. And then you're like, we've raised this that actually goes to whatever it is that it's going to. And I just think it's like a beautiful thing for you to say, like, yes, you built this with amazing team, but like God put this on your heart that you built, and you came from Abbeville, Louisiana, and now you are like not just doing the damn thing, you're like changing lives as you do this thing, and you are surrounded by people that have supported you and that have cheered for you, even though your upbringing wasn't your picture perfect movie that you came for money, or your parents are still married and they still support you. Like you put your head down and you said, I was made for something bigger. Obviously, you didn't know what that looked like or entailed in that moment. But now, look back and say, holy shit. Like, do you have moments where you're like, I'm proud of where I am? Even though you have like the hard days, I'm sure you go through some shit as an entrepreneur in this industry. And you're like, what am I even doing? But like, you look at, your past and you say, holy crap, look at, how far I've come and what the alternatives could have been.
Yeah, every now and then I do have a surreal moment. I have a moment where I'm laying down, might be saying my prayers, and I'm like, wow, like how or why did how do I have this much energy, this much passion? Why did you pick me? I do not have a direct, I did not have cancer growing up. I didn't know anybody that did. Like, why me? It's literally the first question I'm going to ask Jesus when I get upstairs. But I do every now and then. I do have these surreal moments of like, damn, have we donated $31 million to support the childhood cancer community? This is wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Girls that slang biscuits in college at Edie's, and most of us were all on our own from age of 17, 18, you know, decided to do something bigger than ourselves, and look where it is today. Every now and then I have those moments. At the same time, as much quote unquote press and PR and my story and all those things, like when people do give me accolades or I'm kind of, singled out or recognized, I for some reason want to crawl like under the table
Yes.
because
Yes. Yep.
I was chosen to lead, but there is no possible way on this green earth that I could have done what I've done without the people who have poured their blood, sweat, and tears into this organization. I mean, I'll get emotional. Like just this past week, Larry LaPointe and Sherry drove in from Lake Arthur, Louisiana. I mean, I wonder how many miles Larry has driven our trailers, our event trailers, from Tulsa to Memphis to Lafayette to, I mean, spent an entire week here so we could make sure everything was loaded and inventoried so we could provide a carnival for 80 plus families in treatment right now, so we could drop toys off at every single Texas Children's location. I mean, and then picks up a car that was just donated to us for us to use in an auction. Like the people that have
Yeah.
literally poured their souls into what we built. It is so, that's why I do. People, I think, my social media, like, oh, Brittany, whatever. But it's like, oh my God, no, like I do. I want to crawl on a table because it's not me. It's like,
It's everybody.
I've been lucky to inspire these people to be able
Yeah.
to want to
Yeah.
quote unquote run through the brick wall with me and change lives. And so yes, it's an absolute wild journey. Have I had sleepless nights? 100%. Uh, do I love managing people? Absolutely not. It's literally the hardest thing about running a
Hardest
business
thing.
is the
Hardest thing.
people.
Yes.
Now, can I still, though, whether I've terminated you, you've quit, I mean, you've worked here for 3 months, whatever. Like I always tell everyone, you gave a part of yourself and your skills and your ability to Skyhi that helped us get where we are. So I am forever grateful to you. And I will always have that stance. And then to the people who have never left our side, whether that's a paid employee or a volunteer, you are the reason why we're here today. And I'll never be able to thank everybody enough, and take the
Yeah.
time to literally go around and hug and kiss everyone like I'd like to. But it's like, man, it really is wild. And on the hardest days, okay, we have these moments where the word reset has been used a lot lately. This has been a very tough year for Skyhi for many reasons. And it's like, it feels like we've been saying that since 2020. But several people have used the word reset, and they either attended a carnival at the hospital with us where they've been able to interface with the families we are directly supporting, or they've been able to hear from our beneficiaries directly, whatever it may be. Or last night, if you were with me and a few of our team members, we got to sit down for 2.5 hours with a family of six, mom and dad, four boys from 18 to, I think, second grade. I think Wyatt is in second grade. We had sushi and we laughed and we had so much fun. And like this family is just opens its arms and doors for us to come in and comfort them at the worst possible time in any parent's life,
Yeah.
when they are told that their child is not going to survive and there is nothing else that can be done in terms of the medical side. What we do is we make sure that as much as a family will allow us to, we are going to give the best possible end of life experiences, that we possibly can. And that's our place. God chose us to be able to be strong enough to do that. And so if you cannot reset after having a hard year, when you are around a table like that, knowing what is inevitable,
Yeah.
then like I said, like you're not human. Like you don't
Yeah.
belong here at Sky High for Kids. And so we've had so many moments where people did need a reset this year, right? You get down in the trenches and you're hosting these events and one event after another, and you don't have time to wash your clothes because you're out of town and it's
Yeah.
early mornings and it's late nights and it's weekends and you're on a plane, and and we don't stop. And I have high expectations for the brand and for our donor experience. And so there've been a lot of reset moments, and like it brings us back to this is what we're doing and why we're doing
Why?
it.
Yeah, this is your why of why you're doing it. Because sometimes when you get caught up in the hustle bustle and the money and like the constant travel and the highs and lows of even just running a damn business or working for someone that is so passionate and high driven, and you say I have so many high standards, which is it's hard for people to work for because I have the same thing, and some people are like, well, you're too much. Well, yes, but like I get it. Like at the same time, you get in the trenches of everything. And you're like, why the hell am I doing this? To come back, to center yourself, and to reset and say, this is why, and to sit with a family that knows that in a month or a week that they're losing something so big in their lives that they won't get, like, they can't get back. That humbles you and it brings you back to say, okay, this is why we're doing it. This is what I'm grateful for. All the little shit that stresses us out, that causes us to lose sleep, that we worry about on a daily basis doesn't freaking matter. Like does not actually ultimately boils down to doesn't matter. And so I think that that's genius in the sense of like, if you're listening to this and you are struggling with a year, one, you are not alone. It's been one hell of a year. Like I've literally listened to that song over and over. It's been one hell of a year lately. And I'm like,
Thank you, Parker McCullum,
I
who is
know,
a
right?
big supporter of Sky High. We're very grateful.
Well, like, I mean, thank you for writing that song. But like it has been, and if you feel this in your journey, like break, like it doesn't matter how much money you make, it doesn't matter how much money your business makes, it doesn't matter all these things that you're like striving for. You want to be in the $1 million club, the 6-figure club, like whatever the hell it is. Like if you don't know what you're doing it for, then ultimately it does not matter. And so like if you can take a huge step back and say like, as we go into 2025, what do I want and why am I doing this? Why am I like, is it worth sleepless nights? Is it worth the stress? Is it worth XYZ? And if it is, then keep freaking going. Like you got two people right here on a podcast telling you to keep going, that even though sometimes I'm like, I want to burn this shit to the ground. And
Yep.
it really is. That's true. And it's real, but it doesn't mean we are going to do it. It just means, we need to come back, peel the curtain back and say like, why did we start this in the beginning? And why are we continuing to do it?
Correct. I mean, you literally nailed it on the head. Like that is it. No matter what position you're in, especially if you're running a business, whether it's nonprofit or for profit, you're going to have many times or thoughts where you're going to say, yeah, like I like to burn this down. What did Elon Musk say the other day? He was like, it's like swallowing glass,
Yeah.
running a business. Everybody assumes because he's
Yes.
so rich that like his life's so easy. And it's like, oh my gosh, I would love to challenge anyone out there to come, yours too, come step into my shoes and I'll give you 1 week, right?
Week. Yeah.
Your
Maybe a
your
day.
head will spin if you're on my calendar. And so, yeah, the amount of moving parts from the processes and procedures to the core processes you better have for the marketing to the business development to how we run every event. Now we've just launched a big major gifts division and we're, having it's just been amazing to see the response from people in the community that are like, hell yeah, Britt, like I want to give a legacy gift and have a naming opportunity on your floor. And so the things that we do and the innovation that happens. Then to top that off, Shelby, we're also directly impacting the families that do not. Well, let me back up. That are also at St. Jude, and then the ones that aren't at St. Jude. That okay. First, they're going to ask you for your insurance. If you don't have insurance, the good thing about Texas Children's is they're still going to treat your child. Thank you, Lord. But there are going to be daily parking fees and food and lodging. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's a
Everything.
family that was at our carnival Saturday night. They came this summer to Houston for their daughter's gymnastics tournament. She started complaining that her leg hurt. They end up in the ER. They never went home. She just finished 4 months or 5 months of cancer treatment. Mom, dad, and all three kids, okay, had to relocate from California. They had to pay for housing, they had to pay for food, they had to pay for flights. Like The dad's a principal and the mom stayed home with the 3 kids. Okay, do the math on that.
Yeah.
So Sky High's like, wait, hold on, time out. What is going on? Well, now we're going to send supplemental support to offset every dime that they spent renting the house in the med center. We're going to pay for every flight moving forward for the immediate family to come back for 3 month scans. We gave them an absorbent amount of gifts and things so they didn't have to worry about Santa this year. And so that is on top of the research and like the big picture stuff. Like we are in it now with these families. We're fighting alongside them now, and we're trying our best to offset as much burden that they have when their child receives this diagnosis.
Yeah.
No one gets it. So, in Brittany fashion, not that I need to focus, but like you realize the fact that there's 70 families just at main campus inpatient at all times. All of those families at some point are tired of eating the hospital tray food, and it's for the patient. It's not for mom, dad, and they got to buy that. So one night I'll watch several families DoorDash their food in, and then I'll watch some families eat Chef Boyardee or macaroni and cheese, which is thankfully supplied by Ronald McDonald House on the floors. Okay. But like I watch one family watch another family eat very differently for dinner. And I could just see this whole thing unfolding. And I was like, wait, time out. What is happening?
Yeah.
I look at mom and I said, hey, is this like, what's the routine here? She said, oh, Brittany, almost every single night, if you can afford it, which none of us can really afford it, doesn't matter where we are in the food chain, we DoorDash dinner because you have extra family here, or like Mila doesn't want to eat the hospital tray food for the 30th day in a row, okay,
Yeah.
while also being hooked up to a chemo pole, walking in circles on floor 9. Like she wants spaghetti from whatever. So we acted fast and quickly created what's called Sunday Supper. And, you know, in South Louisiana, I don't know about you, Shelby, but like one of the best memories of my childhood is every single Sunday we went to church and then we went to Mama Aura and Papa Al's house. We had pork roast and rice and gravy and fried chicken every Sunday,
Yeah.
okay, until my, adult life. And I felt like, wait, why is this not available for these families? And found out through Texas Children's that food insecurity is a major problem.
Yeah.
So now we partner with multiple restaurants and we're providing 170 meals, 2 meals per family, sometimes 3, 4, whatever, every Sunday night. And it's like, I know it's not every day,
But it's
but
Sunday.
dang, at least Sunday night, those families can walk on the floor and see Skyhi Sunday Supper starting at 5:30 p.m. And like, we're coming in with a restaurant to be able to provide a hot meal. And they are elated. They can't believe we're doing this. And so that's what we do at Sky High. My little shiny object squirrel self sometimes, you know, I see the need, we see the need, and then we figure it out. We didn't have a plan for Sunday supper. We didn't have an SOP yet. We didn't have a core process. We didn't have a badge volunteer.
Nothing.
That did not stop us.
Right.
Right? Like, well, okay, you can give a million excuses of why you're not ready to launch this program, or you can just freaking launch it.
Yes.
Feed the families, and we'll figure out how to tweak it and fine tune it in the days to come. And that's really kind of like a big part of the culture here, like the grassroots, who we are at Sky High for Kids, you know?
I just think that like a lot of people put too much emphasis on like it has to be perfection before it can even be launched or be done.
No.
The reality is that you just need to do it because ultimately what you think is perfection and how it should be done is gonna blow your mind because it's gonna be like actually that's not how you do it at all. And until you actually bite the bullet and just do it and see the need. So like literally, if you're listening to this, she saw the problem. She's like, we're gonna bring a solution. We don't really know how we're gonna do it yet, but we're gonna do it. I don't really care what it looks like. We're gonna do it. And then boom, now look at it. Like that's majority of what happens in business and entrepreneurship. Yes, you need SOPs. Yes, you need all that bullshit. But like in true fashion, like unless you were just like putting it out there and doing the damn thing, you're ultimately not going to know how it's going to work and how it's going to not work unless you actually freaking do it. And so I
Yep.
love that you just were like, okay, tell me how this works. Okay, let me provide a solution for it. And you weren't scared to say, okay, well, that, we could have done this better, but we did it anyway. But like, ultimately, if you wait to be perfect, you're just not going to do it,
No, you're
period.
not gonna do it. Kristen Vestal, she's like the number one industrial, real estate chick in town. I mean, she's a badass. She's on our executive board. She always looks at me and she says, "Think long, think wrong." I mean, think about it. It
Yes.
literally stops so many people from getting really big things off the ground because they think too long about it. If I'd have sat down and thought about all the logistics and the things that really go into Sunday supper, there'd have been enough people around the table that would have said, "We can't do this. It's not the right time. We don't have
Yes.
this in place. We don't have that." And I'm like, nope. I'm going to go to Abby at Truth Barbecue and see if they'll make the first 170 meals. And like, we're going to drop them off, and Texas Children's going to help us figure out how to get them to the families. And like, we're just going to do it. And that's what we freaking did. That's what we
That's
did.
amazing.
And it's taken August, September, October, November, December, 5 months. And we have just like fine tune the last little tweak on our core process. We decided that, well, it takes more than 2 volunteers. You need 3 carts to deliver the meals. So if there's 7, 8, and 9, every family can get their food just around 5:30 or 6 if we all 3 split and hit each a floor, which means we're going to catch people before they do start door dashing at 7 p.m. if we only had 1 volunteer and 1 cart. And like, so we just moved the delivery time back to 5 o'clock. I mean, but it took us a few months to like really iron those things
Wow.
out. But it did not stop us from providing to these families. We served over 1,600 meals in 5 months.
By just doing it.
Just
Figuring it out.
do it. You will figure it out along the way. And one of the bigger pieces of feedback I got from our recent EOS annual from my COO was, "Hey, Britt, listen, we know that you always want to make things better and you always want to improve and you always, but like, let's really work this year on giving praise and like stopping right there. We can talk about like how we can improve or make things better at the next meeting, but like, give the praise in the moment and don't add the but." Right. So a lot of times I'll come in and I'll be like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. You did this to this. Woo, gold stars." And I'm like, "But we could have, or maybe we should have thought about," right? And so there's 2 sides to this, right? One is she is right. I need to praise my employees and stop right there. At the same time, I have to continue to train and educate and teach them in the moment, or it's going to slip through the crack and it's going to get pushed under the rug and we're never going to improve. And it's a battle for me of, and it's good though, I'm conscious, right? Like, I don't have to do that every single freaking time. Like, make people feel really good in the moment, and just that's enough. We can do the but later, and then also teach them in the moment and add the but whenever you think it really is appropriate to do
Yeah.
that, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm constantly like, "Oh wow, this is my 2025 like awareness." We always set a commitment and then we have an awareness thing. So I'm being more aware of like, praise, 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 kill the butt. And then I'm committed to delegating, okay,
Yes.
and coaching my CFO and COO so I can get out of the weeds. And you know what I mean? Like, y'all, okay, now y'all go handle it. I've taught you the standard of Skyhi because it's not my expectation. Let's be clear. It is the Skyhi expectation. It's the Skyhi brand. It's the Skyhi way. And we're human. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to fix that and we're going to not do it again.
Yeah.
So like, I'm training them, but I'm also going to be aware. But you got to learn in the moment sometimes. You have to train in the moment. I don't have a manual when you sign up to be an event coordinator here and say, "Here you go. Read the 1,000-page document of 17 years of every event we've hosted in every city, and then, come back in 3 months and then I expect you to wave a magic wand and host this $1 million event." No, I'm going to throw your ass right in there. You're going to have the SOPs. You're going to have every possible thing we could think of the last 17 years is in that document. But then you're going to have to train in the moment because you got to see it. You got to touch it. You got to be in it. You got to be in it.
A document can only tell you so much. Like, when you're like in it, like I always say, like, I just throw y'all in it. Like, how else you going to learn?
How else are you going to learn?
Like, I don't
I mean, I didn't
understand.
read a manual on how to show sheep in 4-H.
You just did it.
Yeah, and I got drug around an arena. I got stepped on. I got kicked. I mean, my gosh, whatever. I mean, but you learned. I learned not to take the sheep and back its ass up into a ditch. Okay, it's gonna go into the ditch, and you're gonna fall into the ditch and maybe break your neck. Like you
Hello.
just, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you gotta just. But we're on the job training organization, and okay, before we depart, it's 55 minutes.
Yes.
Two things, because it's
Yeah.
performance review day over here. Two things that I took away from my first performance review this morning with my COO. Our team member sat across the table and said, like, where do you go from here? This is the most rewarding job I've ever had in my career. We're literally saving lives. We're impacting kids across the globe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could like quit and go work a 9 to 5 in for profit and really add no value. And I'm not saying that your for profit job adds no value. People don't pick that apart. What I'm saying is, she literally said, where do you go from here? This is the most magical, but also the hardest job
Mm.
that you're going to do, both mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay. And when she said that, I said, damn, nobody said it like that. Like, yeah, where do you go from here? If you do decide to go somewhere else and do something else, where do you go? And when she said, it's been such a hard year and we had to learn, and I said, you know what, Carly? Everybody that's still here, y'all made it. And I don't want anybody who's weak on this team. That may sound blunt, that may sound harsh, but the reality is you can't do weak at Skyhi for kids.
No, you can't.
We're going to plan a funeral in a few weeks. We're going to gear right back up for the spring event season. We're going to train new employees. We're going to overcome some serious hurdles and obstacles. We're going to probably like do 3-day stretches of no sleep. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
You can't be weak to do this work in any way, shape, or form, mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I looked at her and I said, thank you for telling me that, because now I see who made it. You know,
Yeah.
now you can see who made it through this really challenging
Hard. Yeah.
year, which, by the way, came out to be our biggest revenue year in history, nearly $9 million. So I may be a little bit of a hardcore leader, and Skyhi may have high expectations, and I might train in the moment. But damn, something's working, Shelby.
Something is working, and you know what? It's not for the weak. And I think that's what people see, or they like to see from the outside, because we live in a world of freaking instant gratification and social media. So you can make people think whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
But unless you're in the nitty gritty of entrepreneurship or running a business or in Sky, like that is not, like, think about it. Your emotions at Skyhi are literally high and low and high and low, because you're feeling the emotions with these families. You're getting connected to these kids. You're like, I want to help every single family, but you physically probably can't. And you're like,
Right.
who do I pick and choose? How do I do this? What kids are going to actually survive this? What kids are not? How are these families going to overcome this? And like, the thing with it is, to Carly, I don't know her, but there is no better, probably. There is no more, unless you just aren't cut out for that particular job, which is also okay.
That's okay.
You do
It's
your part.
okay.
You do whatever you can. Maybe God's story or journey for you was to work with Skyhi for 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that looks like. And you're like, okay, this was my work, and this is what I was supposed to do, but now I want to go do this. And that's okay. And that's okay with anything that you do in life. You can pivot at any moment. You can say, I want to do this. You can say, I don't want to. But this conversation was so good, and I feel like we could talk forever, but both of us are like, shit.
We could literally talk for 10 hours. People would be like, okay, I'm tired of listening to Brittany's voice.
But anyway, thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Shelby.
being here. Literally, y'all, right now, I'll link everything in the show notes, but they're about to open up donations. So if you are thinking about donating, getting involved in anything with Skyhi, we're going to put all the links in the show notes for you to snag and drop. But Brittany, tell them, everybody, where they can find you. How can they get involved? Just a quick little blurb for them.
Skyhiforkids.org. Please visit our website. Literally everything is on the website. You can volunteer, you can donate, you can volunteer and give, an hour of your time in 2025, or you can, give 50 hours, 100 hours. There's so many options. So don't be afraid to ask, how can I help? Because we have numerous ways to do that. But skyhighforkids.org is the best resource for all of you. And then you can follow us on social media at Sky High for Kids on all social media outlets. Shelby, thank you. I love you. And like, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you for being here, y'all. If anything I've said it always, like, share, comment. This is an episode that truly can impact children's lives and help families that are going through so much. So the awareness is huge here. So like, comment, share, leave a review. And until next time, let's freaking get it.
And that's a wrap on another episode of Damn Good Marketing Podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. Make sure you comment, review, share it with a friend. Come back next week. And until next time, let's freaking get it.